any fun ideas or strategies for sentence structure. My child is 5 with excellent language, very poor diction, so focusing on that with excellent success, but would now like to do a little bit on syntax and grammar. His pronouns, tenses, word order, etc. very mixed up. Okay. That's a lot of information to unpick. I think the first thing is, with excellent language, we really want to know, do they understand pronouns, tenses, how word order works before we work on the execution of that? Can they hear themselves when they're trying to work on this? When first protocol, I might use tense as an example. You need to have a sense of time. Yesterday, tomorrow, today. So I would use a weekly schedule with the main activities that you're going to do in the week and start teaching what happened yesterday, what happened 2 days ago. You went there, using the tenses within that visual of time, because time is such a difficult concept, because at the end of the day, sorry, I can't even string my words together, ironically now. So that would be my first protocol. And then I would outright teach it in maybe story sequencing. So if you have a sequencing cards with maybe 3 steps, ideal, because you can go past, present, future, and then have a little cheat sheet. What does a present tense look like? We want to have he, she, it, singular S. We want to talk about is and are and ing. And we want to practice that and make sure you know the time words of it. Then you want to go and look, okay, this happened before that. So what do we do with the action word in that tense? It's really important to double check that they know all their action words. So a language assessment would be really important in this case, because you want to break down, do they understand? What kind of pronouns do they understand? Pronouns are incredibly difficult to teach. And it's very hard for especially kids with ASD to understand. And I think in kids in general, it's harder now. Way back when, I'm showing my age now, but you looked at pictures of boys and girls, and the girls wore dresses and the boys wore trousers, and it was so much easier. And the girls had long hair sometimes and the boys didn't. It's so much harder to work on pronouns now than it was ever before. And it's also about what is most important. For me, teaching the pronoun I is really good to start with, and to use that physical cue, like I'm going to do this, because sometimes kids tend to speak to them about themselves in the first person. So it's like, Marek is going to go here. Marek, why? Because they heard their parents model it for them all the time. So I would say it like the child could say if he could. So I would say it like this. So if I'm talking to the child, I go, I want to go to McDonald's, and then I pat them so that they know I'm talking about you, and you use the word I. For grammar and so on, you're better off starting with one thing, work your way through it, and come to the next one. When it comes to jumbled sentences, it depends on their reading skills. If they create a sentence and you write it down, that's sometimes the best way to look at it, break it down, and go, let's see how we can make this more succinct. Another way to do it is to start with a simple subject, verb, object sentence, and we just make sentences based on that very simple piece. I know people might use shape coding, they might use colorful semantics to code that in a more visual way. I found shape coding quite good for older kids, because with colorful semantics, they kind of hit their ceiling as to where they understand that. Okay, so I don't want to go on too long about it, because I could be talking for years about syntax and grammar. We're all, as speech and language therapists, very much into grammar. Syntax goes with what we do.